MP to all cars. Armed robbery on security vehicle.
Juliet,
now.
4 to MP.
4 men.
Off watch.
Zulu 1 to MP. Disturbance in High Street. Gang of youths
MP
fighting
to
with
Golf
knives.
1-1.
Request assistance, over.
Suspects on premises.
Sergeant Brook,
Yes?
I'm Detective Inspector Manock.
Oh, yes, sir.
Been waiting long?
No, sir.
Thought we should meet away from the office, somewhere we can get to know each other. A quiet pub is as good as anywhere. What are you drinking?
This, sir, it's bitter.
Do you have another?
No, thank you, sir. I'll stick with this for a while.
All right. Now, let's get down to it. How's the case coming along?
What on Terry Neal? I'm still gathering background on him, checking the intelligence files, newspaper files, CRO, and all the rest, and trying to get the hang of business and high finance, at which I'm not very good.
Well, I am, so we might make a team. Give it me from the beginning, will you?
Excuse me, sir. What's your connection with the case?
Didn't Mr. Roach tell you?
No, sir. He just said you'd meet me here.
I'm from the Regional Crime Squad, and I've come to talk with you about Neil. There are a dozen other angles on this case, but you and I are concerned with only one. So, from the beginning.
Well, it began on Saturday. We had requests from 3 regional squads about men from their own patches who were meeting on our ground. I was given 8 names and asked to check if they had met here. They had. They met at the Mayfield Club.
And the reason?
It was said to be a birthday party thrown by one of the 8, Jackie Thorne, who owns the Mayfield. There was a party, but there was also a meeting in the club office that went on for 2 hours. It was attended in ones or twos by all of the 8, and also by a 9th man.
Terry Neal.
Yes, sir.
His name puts a new light on the case. Was this your own information?
No, sir. It came from one of my informers.
Is it possible to meet him?
Not possible, sir.
Why not?
I'd rather not, sir.
Sergeant, very large sums of money are at stake. And it's quite a wrong idea that informants are personal property. It went out years ago.
Not in divisional CID, sir.
How much does your informant know about Terry Neal?
What most other people seem to know, that he's been away from it all for a long time. In fact, some of his friends say he's always been straight.
Do you believe him?
Well, he's not been convicted, sir.
True, but it's quite a record, isn't it? 3 arrests and no conviction.
He was arrested with others for a bank raid, then for a security van hold-up, then for a second bank raid. In the first, his name was dropped from the charge sheet.
Dropped, was it?
It was struck out by the Public Prosecutor's Office on lack of positive evidence. You'd have to be careful about disputing it.
Go on.
Well, in the second, there was a challenge about identification. In the third, he was one of 5 pulled in. The other 4 swore that he wasn't there, that the police were framing him, and they had to drop it.
And what do you think was happening?
Maybe somebody was laying for him, fitting him up by association.
What's on your mind, Sergeant?
Nothing, sir. It was before my time. So I'm only saying what I've heard, or what I've read in the files.
Well, let me tell you 2 things. The first is from your own report. The 4 men who swore he wasn't on that bank raid were all at that party. Strange, isn't it?
They say he hadn't seen any of them in all that time, and that what they swore was true. Jackie Thorne, whose birthday party it was one of the men who helped to clear him. It was a chance to say thank you.
After 10 years.
You asked me what I heard about Neil. I'm telling you.
Now, there's a second point. It's been known to us for some time that the 8 villains at that party have been engaged together in major crime, engaged in a series of very special crimes in which we were unable to get a line until you put Neil up. And that has shed a very bright light.
Shed a light on what, sir?
Forget what I've just said. Go on with what you were saying.
What about Neil?
Yes.
Well, all the things we know about him seem to have happened in his 20s, and they seem to have happened because he was brought up in a pretty low-life part of London. But his family are said to have been respectable and decent. He still visits his mother in the old street.
You believe all this?
I'm telling you the story, sir. They say that he set out to better himself, studied, read books, went to concerts. And at one of the concerts, he met a girl.
He was then
26.
And that was the year of the Camden Bank job. They got 230,000.
According to our files, he wasn't there. Do you want to hear the story or not, sir?
I know the story. He met this girl at a concert. He was attending some study course. She was at London University. They fell for each other. They got married and lived happily ever after.
They certainly lived comfortably ever after. He has a big house down in Kent, a pretty wife, and 2 nice children.
Why did you go to see him?
Because he turned up at that party.
And that, Sergeant, is precisely why we're interested. Now, will you have that beer?
Yes, sir.
It's bitter, isn't it? Sure you won't have a scotch?
All right, sir. A scotch.
2 large whiskies, please.
Yes, sir.
Here you are.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Your scotch.
Thank you.
That girl he married. Her family were loaded.
Well, they certainly had a lot of money. Cheers, sir.
Cheers.
But if what you're saying is true, Terry Neal would have been well in credit himself. His share in 3 jobs.
3 that we know of.
So there was no need for him to bother.
We think there was. You went to see him. What happened?
It's in my report.
Oh, yes. Really high society stuff. Big house, pretty wife, kids at a posh school, his father-in-law chairman of city companies, the right sort of companies, banks, insurance, stockbrokers.
With a solid reputation, sir. They say his father-in-law was a good judge of character. He liked young Neal.
Took him into the city where he proved to be a shrewd investor, a good businessman, and now he has a solid reputation. It's what our city report says, isn't it?
Respected, trustworthy, well thought of.
But 4 years ago, his father-in-law decided to take things easy. Son-in-law stepped into his shoes. Some directorships and 2 chairmanships came his way, all in what he excels in most, money. And just over 2 years ago, we are hit by a series of crimes, all to do with large sums of money.
Will you explain, sir?
Oh, no need to explain. Others are dealing with that side. We are dealing with Terry Neal, the man who left his big house to celebrate in a crummy side street club.
To attend a birthday party, sir.
Birthday party be damned. He was told to come and he came. They're old friends. And to 4 of them he owed a favour. It says so in your report.
Yes, sir.
And it doesn't matter if he came willingly or unwillingly. He came. Did you meet his wife or see his children?
No.
It'd be interesting, wouldn't it?
Do you want me to go back?
Yes.
Won't it warn him?
Not if you think of a good reason. But you won't go there first. In the regional crime squads, we work quietly, softly, take our time. I want to see the effect on these villains of our showing interest in Mr. Neal. Where do we start?
Well, I know 2 of them. Jackie Thorne and Manderson.
See Thorne again. Say to him you should have taken his advice. You shouldn't have called on Terry Neal.
And what will that do?
It will set their minds at rest. You'll then call on Mr. Neal's old mother. That will get back to Mr. Thorne and start it all up again. It's called stirring the pot. Well, that's it.
Where do I contact you, sir?
At the yard on 4291.
I've been looking for you, Dave. Where have you been?
Running around. Why? What you working on?
Your backlog of work. It's piling up. Look at it.
Well, we've got other work to do. A call on Jackie Thorne. Right, let's move.
I've got all this to do.
Look, when I visit a big villain in a drinking club, I take a witness. Someone honest and reliable. Like you. Come on.
All right.
Evening, Jackie.
Oh, it's you again. Evening, Sergeant.
How are you?
Well, I'm not too happy on what I heard about you. You didn't trust me, did you?
Well, sign me in, I'll buy you a drink.
Sign you in? Well, why not? I'll give the club a bit of class. Billy, sign in Detective Sergeant Brook, will you, and his friend?
Just sign in what you usually do. Mr. Smith, Mr. Brown.
Ooh, I could have you for slander. Billy, sign a Mr. Brook and a Mr. Maxton. And while he's doing that, what will you have?
I thought you'd never ask. Whiskey. Max?
Lager.
It's coming up. 1 large whiskey and 1 pint of Carlsberg. Or do you prefer the one that's good for the policeman's feet?
I'll leave it to you.
You haven't said why you let me down. I went out of my way, didn't I? Told you all I knew about Terry, but you had to go and mess him about.
Yeah, I know. I was wrong. I should have listened.
Do you mean that?
Yeah, of course I do. It was a waste of time. All that way for nothing.
Yeah. Your scotch and your lot.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks.
You saw his house, did you?
Yeah. Haven't you?
No. Never even knew where it was. I had trouble getting his address. The wife got it from a woman who knows his mum, you know. Kent, isn't it? The stockbroker's belt.
Yeah.
How did he take it? I mean, you going to see him.
He didn't mind.
But it was naughty not listening to me.
Yeah, sure. You were right. So, cheers.
Cheers. What did you come about?
Well, that was it, to say I should have accepted your advice.
I always help the law, you know that. You got a girlfriend?
Yeah.
Bring her here one evening. We can have a talk. Hey, that goes for your mate and his girl. A foursome.
Well, it's an idea.
I'll lay on a nice little meal and show your girls a good time.
Yeah, well, we'll do that, Jackie.
There, you stay and have the other half?
Is it time?
We should be going, Sergeant.
OK, we go. Well, thanks, Jackie. Be seeing you.
Sure. Anytime.
Are you taking him up on that offer?
About the free meal? Not on your life.
Judy would like it, after she was stood up.
We're not eating with someone like that.
Back to the station.
Yeah. Do you think he bought it?
He was weighing you up, throwing in a lot of questions. Yeah, I think he believed you.
But it doesn't tell us anything, does it? He'd have done the same if his friend Neil was on the straight. Said the same things.
What do you feel?
Well, if Neil is on the straight, he's got a lot of muscle to defend himself. All that money, all these influential friends. I hope nobody puts their feet in it.
I hope nobody puts your feet in it.
Hello, Mr. Mallock. Been waiting.
Did you see Thorne?
Yes, sir.
How did it go?
Well, I think he bought it.
I've some news for you on the next step. No need for you to call on his mother. Our lads have nosed out that Neil calls on her from time to time to see she's all right. We have it from someone near to him that'll be going there on Friday. That's useful, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
He takes a taxi from his office, pays it off nearby, walks the rest, having a nostalgic look at the old streets.
Well, the neighbours say he is a dutiful son.
That may be. Anyway, he walks through the cut to his mother's house. You know where she is.
Yes.
What we think is best is that you show yourself around there on Friday. When he appears, you let him recognize you. Then you have a few casual and friendly words with him. Be seen talking to him and be seen hanging round his mother's house waiting for him. It'll get back to Thorne, okay?
Is there a briefing? It would help to know what Neil's up to.
I can tell you what Thorne and his friends are up to. Whether Neil is part of it is something we have to find out. Maxton, you're in on this. Come over.
Thank you, sir.
Sit down. As you know, the regional squads were set up to take a long view of criminals engaged in major crime, especially of organised crime, where other detectives find it difficult to find a way in. We've been watching these men for more than 2 years. We saw them come together. We suspect that they're responsible for a series of major robberies. Let's be blunt about it. We have information that they are responsible, but information without evidence doesn't impress juries.
What's Jackie Thorne's part in it?
He's the one they all liaise through. He acts as the post office. All the orders and instructions go through his club. Eddie Manderson is the planner, the organizer. The others are the workers, the soldiers. Thorne is the second in command. He's the one they all trust.
And he's the one who knows Terry Neal.
At the moment, we're just talking about the gang. Over the past 2.5 years, there's been a series of jobs, all done with considerable speed, always for money, never less than $250,000. Banks, security vans, racetracks on a busy night. In and away before the onlookers know what's happening, like it was all rehearsed and they were working to a stopwatch. We calculate we've had £5 million to date. Oh, no need to whistle, Maxton. These days, $5 million lost over 2.5 years doesn't bring out the army.
It's still a hell of a lot of money, sir.
Yep. And our latest job was just 4 days before this so-called party. I'll mention the place and you'll know the job. A week ago Tuesday, Muswell Hill.
Yes, security van, 6 men in 2 cars. They got £340,000.
And nobody took much notice. It made the last edition of the evening papers and it was forgotten, except by the insurance company and ourselves.
And the lad who got clobbered.
That was the day they clocked up the $5 million. 4 days later, they were having a party to read the annual report, to declare a dividend, and plan another successful year.
It can't be easy putting that amount of money around.
What would you do with it?
Me?
Let's ask Maxton. He's an ordinary sort of lad. Suddenly you're given a big bag of money. What do you do?
I think I'd stick it under the bed, sir.
No, they don't keep the loot for beer and backing horses anymore. They use it to buy a slice of the good life, and the people who sell the good life like to see checkbooks and credit cards, especially credit cards.
I'd have to put it in the bank.
Talking about a big share out, $250,000, $500,000.
How then, sir?
The answer to this has to be very sophisticated indeed. No longer do our really big villains have to sell hot money at a discount or hold it until the heat goes off. According to our advisors, it's stolen, it vanishes without trace, and it comes back clean and spendable.
Do you know how?
According to the financial experts, it goes out of the country as figures on a telex machine. All you need for this piece of abracadabra is a friendly foreigner with a genuine passport and a friendly merchant banker. And there are an awful lot of merchant and fringe banks in the city. Our Mr. Neal has an interest in 2 of them.
You could investigate them?
No, not if they have a friendly foreigner. Any non-English person with a proper passport and an acceptable letter of credit can walk into any of our fringe banks with a suitcase full of dinar or francs or marks and ask for them to be banked, exchanged, or transferred to any other country.
Even if the money's stuffed into a suitcase?
Especially if it's stuffed into a suitcase. The bank will even count the money for him. He may have broken some other country's laws, even his own country's laws, by bringing the money here, but he hasn't broken ours.
But for God's sake, I mean, why not?
Because we're in need of foreign currency. And our banks want the business, and if you have any complaints, Sergeant, take them to the Treasury. They make the rules.
Supposing the money in the suitcase is in pounds.
It is then just a little bit more difficult, but not impossible, if you have the right friends. So, you will bump into Mr. Neal on Friday afternoon. He leaves his office in the city at 4:30.
Yes, sir.
Right, until then.
What did you buy?
4 bars of chocolate. 6p off if you take the pack of 4.
Well, what do you think of it all?
Yeah, busy. Good place to get lost.
Don't kid yourself. The word's going round. There's a big rozzer in the market buying sweeties.
You think?
I know. So you better start eating one of them.
Will you have a bit?
No, thank you. What's the time?
10 to 5.
Right. Well, you hang about. I'll stroll down to the corner. If you buy a lollipop, they'll think you're a TV cop.
You said to show ourselves around.
By show. I didn't mean to say you should entertain them.
Thank you.
Right. Wait for me.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Neal, isn't it?
Yes. It's Detective Sergeant Brook.
Yes, sir.
Oh, what brings you to this part of the world, Sergeant?
Visiting some colleagues, sir, at the local station.
Oh, yes, of course. It isn't far from here.
And I thought I'd have a stroll around. You're a bit out of your way yourself, sir.
I don't think you mean that, Sergeant. I think you know precisely why I'm here.
Yes, sir, I do. But that's not why I'm here. I can assure you our meetings,
Fortuitous?
No, sir, I was thinking more, accidental.
Well, it was nice seeing you again.
I'll walk to the corner with you, sir.
And I'm sure you know which corner.
Yes, sir. Well, goodbye, sir.
Sergeant,
Yes, sir?
have you been troubling my mother?
No, sir? Not now or ever. Our meeting was accidental.
Goodbye, Sergeant.
You saw him?
Yeah, and I didn't like what I was doing. I need a drink. Come on. How do you know, sir?
We have someone close. It got back first to Manderson. Then he phoned it to Thorne. You should have heard what Thorne had to say about you.
Yeah, I can guess. But how did you hear about it?
We have a source near to Manderson, though all we ever hear is what has happened. Never anything that'll put us a move ahead of them. The news got back to Manderson that you were in the market waiting for Terry Neal, and that you walked along with him to the corner of the street, did you?
Yes.
Nice touch, that. Walking him home. Oh, it worried them. They were wondering what you talked about. Thorne said he'd phoned Neal and asked, but we don't have a source at that end, so we won't know what he says.
Is Neal in it?
Definitely.
It's a liberty, isn't it? A sack full of money, a friendly foreigner, and a merchant banker. Can't it be stopped?
How can it be? Supposing our friendly foreigner is an Arab gentleman with a sack full of dinar, profits from his oil wells, and he wants to exchange it and buy another hotel in Park Lane. Why should we say no? We need his oil money.
But if the suitcase is full of our money?
I said it requires a friendly fringe banker. Remember that every day our fringe banks deal with tens of millions of pounds in foreign currency. Every day they're transferring all sorts of money, switching it from one country to another, pushing it around the world.
Like a merry-go-round?
More like the wind of change. Money becomes a series of figures on a telex tape, and then it changes its form on the wind. Pounds change into francs on the Paris bourse, to marks in Bonn, dollars on Wall Street, and somewhere along the line it changes back into sterling, and you can now bring it home.
And since it's quite legal, we can't stop it.
We can concern ourselves with the bit that isn't legal, the stealing and handling of it. I'm going to call on Mr. Neal in the city.
He has a lot of influential friends, sir.
If I feel he's slipping away from me, I'll make a phone call to you. I'll make one before he does. And you'll back me up by raiding the Mayfield Club. You get a search warrant now and be ready to raid and seize every scrap of paper and all the books as soon as I phone you.
On the warrant, sir, what do I say we're looking for?
You tell me.
Stolen liquor?
Good. That gives you the right to seize the books. It's Dave Brook, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
All right, Dave. Be ready for my call. Mr. Neal,
Yes?
I'm Detective Inspector Mannock. Sorry to call on you at your office.
Oh, it's quite all right. I seem to be surrounded by policemen these past few days. Perhaps you can tell me why. Oh, do take a seat.
Thank you, sir. It's in connection with your friendship with certain persons, sir. A Mr. Thorne, a Mr. Manderson, a Mr. Reese, And Mr. Gary.
Yes, I know the men you're talking about, Inspector. I've already explained to a sergeant that I met these men at a party, that I'd previously known some of them, though not all of them, and that Mr. Thorne was once a friend.
Was it the first time you'd met all of them, sir?
What do you mean?
Taking them as a group, sir. Had you ever met with all of them before that date?
I still don't know what you mean.
Sorry, sir. We know that you've been meeting one of them, Mr. Thorne, and we believe you have been meeting with two of them, Mr. Thorne and Mr. Manderson. And I'm asking you if you'd met regularly with any of the others.
Of course not. I've explained all this to the sergeant. What is the purpose of this visit?
We're trying to trace a rather large sum of money, sir, amounting to £5 million, which we believe was stolen by your friend over a period of time.
Why are you asking me?
Because your business is handling money, sir. Because you're an expert in banking and the movement of money, and you have an interest in certain merchant banks.
What the hell are you Inspector, there are hundreds of men, I might say thousands of men in the city who know as much as I do, and indeed much more than I do, about merchant banking.
Yes, sir, but none of them are friendly with the people on my list.
Have you been making inquiries about me?
Only through our commercial squad, sir.
You mean your fraud squad?
This is not fraud, sir. This is theft, and the handling of the proceeds of theft. There are a few questions I'd like to ask you, sir, if I may.
I think I now know what you're talking about. Because I'm a banker, you're wondering whether this money, this £5 million, as you say, has been processed through the city.
The word we use is laundered, sir.
All right, laundered. And whether I gave them advice.
Whether you gave them help, sir.
I accepted an invitation from a friend from the very distant past, and I am put in this situation. I find it most offensive. Do you mind if I put an end to this interview?
Why, sir?
I think I should consult my lawyer.
As you wish, sir. Do you mind if I use your phone?
For what purpose?
To alert my driver, sir. I told him our meeting might take longer.
Yes, of course you may use it. Dial 9 for an outside line.
Thank you, sir.
Inspector, I attended that party out of curiosity. As a result, I'm subjected to these persistent inquiries. You do understand how I feel?
Of course, sir. Dave? Mannock here. Yes, as arranged. Thank you. The trouble is, sir, that we believe you owed some of these men a favor, and we don't think it was all those years since they were last in touch with you.
Inspector, there's something I want to tell you.
Mr. Thorne!
Oh, it's you again, Sergeant. It's a bit early, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Jackie. I want all your staff in this room.
Look, what is this?
We've got a search warrant. Here it is. Call all your people in here where I can see them.
There's no justice. Billy, get Maisie and Bell and come out here. We've got visitors.
Max, get the rest of the lads in. And turn that damn thing off, will you?
Yes, Sergeant.
Oh, I like that. The place sounds empty without it.
It's going to be a lot emptier when we've finished.
What are you looking for?
A load of knocked-off liquor.
That's what it is. You find nothing like that, Sergeant. All our stuff's straight from the wine merchant. You can see the crates.
Yeah, sure. All right, lads, keep an eye on them. Max, Flynn, go through his accounts.
Hey, wait.
And I'll need the keys to your safe.
What?
The safe.
I don't keep booze in the bloody safe.
Flynn, talk to him.
I don't have the keys. The wife has them.
Search him.
Oh, look, lay off, will you? Look, I want to see that warrant. I've got a right to.
Sure, here you are. It says we are entitled to search for divers things, to wit, property. Keys are property. Come on, hand them over.
They're round his neck.
A lucky charm. Let's have them.
Well, this is what you get for being nice to coppers.
Max, open the safe. Catch.
Ledger, day books, some cash, a diary. Sergeant, there's a diary.
Ah, let's see. Jackie, when was your birthday?
Look, Sergeant, well, can we talk alone?
Yeah, sure. Max, stand at the door, will you? All right, Jackie.
I mean, well, we could make a deal, Sergeant.
About what?
About that. The diary. It's personal. I'll plead to some stolen scotch if you'll just lose that.
Why should I?
I told you, it's personal. The wife, I don't want it to... Look, I'll give you a ton if you'll lose it. Okay, I mean 2 ton.
No. It's got your birthday guests in it. And it's got Manderson's phone number. And Terry Neal's phone number. both home and office. It's got the days when you phoned him, when you met. And it's got some big numbers, too. These the amounts the lads got away with? Are these the dates?
Look, for God's sake, give me that.
Yeah, these are the dates. Flynn, take him out.
Look, I could do you a favour, Sergeant. All right, I'm going quietly. I'm an old man.
Max, we guard this with our lives. It seems to be all written down, date by date. And it's all about the money and Mr. Neal.